Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fleetsoft training webinar. My name is Jill Watterston, and we're so excited to have you all here today. Again, I'm so sorry about the technical difficulties, but we're glad you stuck around. A few notes before we start. I can see most of you have started using the chat feature, so use that if you have any comments or questions at the end for our Q&A. And also, right below the screen, if you wouldn't mind clicking the subscribe button, we do post new videos to YouTube. We already have some training videos up, some features, and we do tips and tricks. So please check that out and subscribe, and you'll get an email every time we have a new video come out. So thank you again for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And now I'm going to turn it over to Kurt Klossner for our training session.
Thank you, Jill. I appreciate that. Again, thank you all for attending today, and sorry about the technical difficulties. This is the first time we did it, so but hopefully the next time if we do another one of these, it'll be a little bit more efficient. So today we're going to be going over a few things. The first thing we're going to be going over is setting up a PM schedule, and then we're going to be going through adding work orders and showing you how the work order works with with the PMs. And then we're going to go over creating and saving a query. And then after that, we're also just going to touch base on a new product that many of our existing customers have had a lot of great success with. It's our GPS and telematics interface. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to have we have some special training offers for everyone who will be attending the session today, and we'll introduce that. And then we'll finally, with the group chat, if you can put some questions in the chat, we'll try to answer some of those questions toward the end of the session. So first thing we're going to go through is setting up a PM schedule. So I'm going to bring Fleetsoft up, and once we have Fleetsoft up, this is the Fleetsoft screen that many of you are familiar with. And I have a sample vehicle list, a real small list here of some vehicles. And this basically is my list. And once I have my vehicles in and my vendors and everything, to create a PM schedule, you just simply come up here and click on the service codes. Okay, and when you click on the service code button, what that will do is it'll bring you a list of your service codes. You may have your own service codes. We offer service codes for you, but I'm going to show you how to create a service code and then make that service code a PM. So to create a service code, just simply come down here, click the add button, and when you hit the add button, it brings up the form, and you give it a number. I'm just going to give this particular service code a number of 1000, and I'm going to call this PMA. Okay, and I can also categorize this PM as a service. If I hit the drop down here, I can go in and click on PM service. If there's something in this list that I want to add, you know, for whatever reason, if it's not, if you don't have anything in this list here, you can add a custom list. So if I just type in, like, say, test here, and if I want to add it to the list, if I hit the tab key on the keyboard, so I'm going to hit the tab key right now, it's going to ask me, are you sure you want to create a PM category called test? If I click OK, it will then give me, it'll add that to the list. And you can actually add to your, throughout Fleetsoft, whenever you see a drop-down list, you can always add to that list by just typing it in and hitting the tab key, and then it will add it to the list. Okay, so I'm going to go down and click on PM service, and if I want, I can use some VRMS coding. If I want to, whenever I put this PM service, I can type some VRMS codes in here as well, if you'd like. The GL account is if you have an accounting system and you want to track your services. If you ever export that information, you can put a general ledger account number here to do that. The standard hours, this will be how long it should take us to perform this service. So I'm just going to say this is going to take us 1.5 hours. And the reason we have a standard hours is it will allow us to compare what it should take this PM to do versus what it actually took. So if it actually took maybe an hour, we can do a technician performance report, and it'll compare what it should have taken to what it actually took, and you can kind of get a performance report. There's a report that you can print out that'll show that. Now, if I was just creating a regular service code, I would click OK here. But if it's a PM service code, I click this checkbox, and you'll see that we get all these different codes that come up. And this will tell me how often I want to perform this particular service. Okay, so for this particular PMA, I'm going to just we want to do this every 90 days, or or we'll say 5,000 miles. Okay, whatever comes first. Now we can also put in an hour meter here. If we want to put track hours as well, you can put that as well. If you don't want to track anything here, if maybe you just want to do days, just leave these other ones blank, and this will just track by days, and it'll ignore the miles or the hours. So I'm just gonna put in here 5,000 miles, and we won't track hours. Now, when we are working with our PMs, um, the the system will automatically warn you ahead of time before that PM comes due. Okay, and the reason we do that is, we don't want to know when that PM's due when it's too late, right? So maybe we want to be warned maybe 15 days before it comes due, or maybe 1,000 miles before it comes due. So in the system, we can go in and specify that ahead of time. And I'm going to show you that a little bit later when I get into the reminders, when that comes up, that we can be warned ahead of time. But this is actually how often you want to perform that service. So don't actually put it. Some people they think, oh, I better, if I want to be warned ahead of time, like every 80 days or something, I will put 80 days so it goes in ahead. No, here's where you actually want to put how often you want to perform that service, just like a regular PM schedule. Reminder in advance, if you leave these at 0, it's just going to use the default settings. So you can have a system default where every single PM that you do is going to always warn you a set amount of days, like say 15 days, or maybe 1,000 miles. There are some instances where you may want to override the default. And in this case, if you set this to say 5 days, then it'll override what the default is in the system, and it'll for this particular service code, it will not warn you from the default system, but it'll actually warn you 5 days instead of the default, which in this system that I've set up is 15 days. If you leave it at 0, it's going to ask you, or it'll just prompt you with it'll just use the default. Okay. This one-time scheduled recall campaign, if you check this, notice that it kind of grays out the perform service hours. What this will do is, if I put one of this particular service code in my PM schedule and I have that checked, it will automatically show up in my PM schedule as an item that needs to be performed. Now, so say it's a recall, if there's a recall or something, and you want to do it, and you want to do a whole campaign, you can add this service code, not this PMA, but if you create a new service code, and you'd call it, say, recall, say front brakes or something, and then it'll show up in the PM schedule. And once you fix it, because it'll show up that you need to perform it, but once you fix it, it will not show up again. Okay, it'll never show up again, and so you'll always know. You'll have a reminder of all the ones that you need to do, and when you do the work, it'll remove it from the to-do list automatically, and it won't remind you again. So that's if you do a one-time schedule. In this case, we're going to just do a PM for this example, and we're going to go ahead and add that. So a couple other things you can do. If you want to add notes here, you can add any notes that you want. And when you put the service code on the work order, whatever you have in these notes will automatically be pulled and brought into the work order. We also have a note template here, and You can create a custom template if you want to put, say, a lot of people put the 3 C's. Uh, you can put those in here, and you can put lines if you want, and you can customize that up under File, and you can create a template for you to come in. I just brought it in here. So here's the 3 C's: complaint, cause, and correction. So you can add these custom notes, and they'll show up here. There's also the service code links. I'm going to show you how this works in a moment when I add a PMB. I'll show you that. And parts assembly, this will allow you to go and create parts. So like if you can assign what parts are needed by vehicle, year, make, and model. So if you have a certain year, make, and model, you can actually assign the parts that are needed. And so when you do that, when you put that service code on the work order, it'll give you a list of the part numbers that are required to perform that service. We kind of, in our training session, we kind of go in that a little bit more detail, but for today, I'm just going to tell you about it. We also can do price levels for different customers. This is just if you're doing invoicing. And then documents, you can do a document attachments. This is really powerful. So if you want to put like, if you want to put a PDF of maybe a schematic, or whenever you're doing a particular service, you can just go in here and add, and then grab that PDF. And so I actually have to save this. Let me save this first here. Now that I've got the PM saved, I can go in and let me add this again real quick. I have to save it first and then do it. Let me go and we'll put in this 90 days. Okay. And so if I click OK and save it, I guess I do have it in this list here. Let me see. Oh, I guess I have it as an inactive. So I'm going to make this active. Okay, there we go. All right, and so now I've got my active. If I go back to my active, I've got my service code here. Okay, so here's my service code. I'm going to put in here 90 days or 5,000 miles, and then save that. Now I made a change here, and if I had any PM schedules, if I wanted to update those intervals, I can change it. So if I change that interval, I can actually have it automatically update throughout my whole PM schedule. I'm going to say no here in this particular case, but notice that I've got my PMA saved here now. And then if I wanted to add a document to this now, I can then click add and then add the file name to it and go from there. Okay. I'm going to go back to my PMA. So I've got everything set up here for the PMA, and it's showing here. Now I'm going to add a PMB, and I'm going to show you when you do a PMB and it includes a PMA. What you want to do, and say we do the PMB every, say we do that every 180 days and say 10,000 miles, okay? And this might take a little bit longer. Now, I'm going to go ahead and save that. And now we've got our PMB and our PMA here, okay? So with our PMB, actually I wanted to let me give this a service code of 1100. Okay, so I've got my my PMA here at 1000, and my PMA here at 1000, and I've got my PMB at 1100. Now you'll notice we have the service code links field here. What this is this PMB includes a PMA. So I'm going to go and specify that this particular PMA or PMB includes a PMA. So I'm going to go and highlight that PMA and click select. And I also have this option to auto add to work order. So if I have this checked, when I select the PMB, it'll actually put 2 line items on my work order, one for the PMA and one for the PMB. If I have it unchecked, it's going to just put the PMB as a 1 line item, but it's going to reset my PMA schedule to say that it was performed. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just do it this way and click OK. And so now my this PMB, whenever I do this PMB, if I put the PMA here, it's going to automatically update the PMA schedule to say that it was done, and it'll reset the features. So very important to know that. Otherwise, like I said, if you do a PMB and it includes a PMA, and you don't have that set, it'll warn you to do the PMA again. Okay, it won't actually record that PMA. All right. Okay, so we just set up our two service codes, and now what we want to do is create a PM schedule for those particular vehicles. So you'll see that we kind of enhanced this a little bit over the years, and we actually created a PM group. So you can actually create a PM group for a group of vehicles because they may have different PM schedules. And then you can assign service codes to that group and also vehicles to that group. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the PM group, and I've got some already assigned here. I'm going to create a new one, and I'm just going to call this, let's just call this pickups. Okay. Now I can make a campaign out of it. Again, we talked a little bit about campaigns, the one-time schedule. If it is a campaign, I can say, okay, I want this to happen once, and I can actually record the status of the campaign. If we completed the whole thing, we can record if it's completed or open. We can create a create date and when we want to have everything due by, and you can put in notes here. Now keep in mind, if it is a campaign, it will show up in the PM schedules of the vehicles that we assign, but once we complete the PM, it will be removed from the to-do list. So we're just going to do a standard campaign here, or standard PM schedule. So I'm going to just not have that checked. And I'm going to click on service code. So I'm going to do a real simple service code. I want to include this PMA. So I point to that service code, double click, and a PMB, and I point to that and double click. And then I come over to my vehicles tab, and here's a list of all my vehicles. So I want to go in and highlight or click on all the vehicles that I want to create this PM schedule for. So let's go look. We've got that Silverado pickup here. Maybe I will put this E250 in here, and these aren't pickups, but we'll include those as well. And so right now, when I click OK here, it's going to put these service codes in the PM schedule for my vehicles. So let's do that, and let's see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And now I'm going to go over to my vehicle list, and let's highlight a vehicle. Okay, here's the Silverado pickup. And if I go over to my PM schedule, you'll see that it's actually gone in and created a PM schedule for me. Now, keep in mind when you do this, it's going to put today's date as the last date that it was performed. Okay, it's also going to grab the current mileage as because we need a starting point. Okay, we need to have a starting point of when that's done. So it's going to use the current date and then the current meter on the vehicle, and that's going to be the starting point. Now you can change that, so you can go into each one and you can say, you know what, I actually performed this a month ago, so I can say instead of May 20th, I actually did that on April 20th, and if I hit the tab key, it's going to go in and change the next scheduled date. And then also the meter, like say this is the current meter, and I've got in this particular PMB, I should have put 10,000 in the meter, but I've got 1,000. So notice it's just putting in 1,000 here. But if I say I actually did this at instead of 49,000, I did it at 45,000. Okay. Notice it's going to take this and it's going to add the meter to it. All right. And so I'm going to go ahead and click OK. So and now it's telling me that it's due. So it's red. It's telling me that I need to do that. So this is how you create a PM schedule, and if I go back to my vehicles, you're going to see also the other ones that I did, like this Tahoe. If I go to the PM schedule, notice that it's created that PM schedule for us. I'm going to go back to the work orders here now, and also notice that since I changed those parameters, it gave me a little warning that PM is due here. So if you have any, this is a timer which represents this PM schedule. It looks the same here. and it's representing that it's coming due. Um, I'm going to change that schedule. I just want to show you if it's a different color. I'll show you how the color changes. So I've got the current meter at 49. I'm going to update this to let's say the last meter we did it was at 48. Okay, actually let's make it 50. Okay, so it's at 51,000, and now notice that it's not. It's telling me it's coming due. So now, but if I come in within 1,000 miles of that, you'll see that if I make this 40. Oops. Okay, let's see what we got here. That's still not enough. Oh, because I've got an interval here, but I guess I'll just put this at 45 here just to make it do in the list here, and I'll show you. Okay, so now that it's red here, and if I go back to the vehicle list, you'll see that it still is reminding me that I have to do the PM here. You'll also get a reminder under reminders. Now this reminders will give you a list of your entire fleet that has PMs coming due on it. So when I click reminders here, you'll see vehicle 3. It's showing me that I need to do this. And I was telling you before about being warned ahead of time. You can see here it says 15 days, 500 miles in this case, and I've got 1,000 hours is what the warning is. I can change these intervals to whatever I want. So let's say if I go up to File and Settings, and I click on my reminder intervals, I can say here's where it's 15. If I want to be warned just 10 days, I can click 10. And if I want to change my miles to 1,000, I can do that. And so that will change my intervals in that case. And so if I close out and I go back in, you'll see now it says 10 days. And notice that when I change that interval to 10 days, all of a sudden these other ones showed up that they're coming due. So they're actually warning us ahead of time that they're going to come in due. So let's take a look at. Oh, I'm sorry, I clicked on my reminders. Here's my PMs. Okay, so here's the next date that it's due. So it's going to tell me the next meter that it's due on, and these are the vehicles that are coming due. Okay, and this one is late, so it's telling me it's the mileage is $3,665, 65 miles past due. This is the current meter on the vehicle, and then if I go over here, it'll actually tell me the last date I performed it. Okay, this is what I recorded here, and then over here it'll tell me the last meters that it was done on, which was using the last ones. All right, so this is how you kind of create your PM schedules, and you can view all the PMs. Now you can print this out. You can say I want to print out all the maintenance due by vehicle, and you can print this report out. If you click this page break button and you click on it, it'll actually give you one vehicle per page of your PM schedule. Since I don't have a lot of vehicles here, I don't need that. So if I hit go, it'll actually give me a breakdown by vehicle. Here's the service, here's the vehicle number, year, make, and model, current meter, and then the service code, and then the PMB is coming due, the date that it's last performed on, and then the next service date. All right, so it'll actually give me and print out the actual PM schedule and what's due for me. I can also create a work order right from this screen. So if I look at my PM schedule and I want to create a work order, I can just come down here and highlight the vehicle that I want to do the work on, and I can say generate work order. When I do that, it actually goes and creates a work order for me for that vehicle, and then I can go in and record the mileage on that, everything done on that vehicle. So I'm going to record this mileage as 45,000 miles. It's giving me a warning because it's greater than the daily. I'm going to go ahead and click OK here. And then I can say that it was performed in-house or by an outside vendor. If it's done in-house, I can specify a technician to do it. Or if it's like if it was done outside, I can specify an outside vendor, and I can select an outside vendor to do that. Okay. So this is how you do a work order. Um, Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to a different site, which I have a lot more data in, and I can kind of show you how this works a little bit more. So I've got more vehicles in this list, and I've got my vendor list and everything showing. So this is if you've got a lot of data, which most of you do. You can go click on the reminders, and this is like what a real PM schedule would look like of all the things that are due. And if I want to perform work on a particular service code, I would highlight it and then click on generate work order. And it's telling me that I already have an open work order for this particular vehicle. Do I want to open the existing? If I say open existing, it'll add the existing work on the work order to the new one, or you can say create a new one. In this case, I'm gonna say create a new one, and I'm gonna go in and update my meter, which the current meter, I'll say this is 164,000. Okay, thanks for warning me. And then I'm going to specify a technician to assign to this work order. Now notice I have a PM's due button here. Since I have some PM's due here, it's going to show up in red. All right. And when I click that button, you'll see that we have a red button here. And this is a list of all the PMs that are due. So I've got a number of PMs that are due here, and I can highlight the one that I want to do, and I can say add PM to work order. And what it'll do is it will remove it from this list, and notice that it'll now put it on the work order. So now I can perform this work. I can double click on it, and I can either specify how long it actually took me, or I can go into my service times and I can click on my timer. And if I'm a technician, I can go ahead and click this timer, and it'll automatically start my timer, and so I can go do the job. And then when I'm completed with the job, I can just go in here and hit stop, and then it'll record my service time for me. Okay, so that's an option if you want to, if you do it. Other times people will actually just write down how long it took them, and if I hit stop here, it's going to say add service time. If I hit yes here, it'll go in and it'll add my service time to my list. Okay, so that is one way, and you'll see here. Here's my service time. I think I just added another one here. Let me delete that. So here's my service time, and it didn't it did I didn't have a whole lot here, so but I say if I had 15 minutes, it would have counted whatever would have put in there, and it's going to record how many total hours that were recorded, and then I can go and click OK, and now it'll update my time that I worked on it. So that's one way to do it. There's two, like I said, you can actually, it'll gray this out if I have my service times in here, or I can just type this in here. Now, so this particular PM, when I did this, when I added this, I'm going to show you back in a second. It's going to remove under my reminders. It's going to remove it from here that it needs to be done. Okay, so here's the one that needs to be redone. So when I perform that PM, it's going to be removed from this list, and it's going to schedule out whatever my intervals are for that oil change. So it's going to take the current meter and the current date. So here's the meter, and then the current date that was performed, and it's going to forecast out. If it was a PMA, for example, it would have forecasted out 90 days or 5,000 miles or whatever. It would have added 5,000 miles to this, and it's going to be removed from the list until the next time that it is set up. Okay, so that is how the PMs work, so you'll notice here that PM was now removed from my to-do list, and it won't show up again until those either the odometer changes or the number of days goes back. Okay, so that is in a nutshell is the how the PM schedule works, and I'm gonna go back here. So we did cover that and adding work orders. And next we're going to talk about creating and saving queries. Now this is a really powerful function, and it's really easy once it's implemented, but it gives you a lot of power. And this function is available not only in our lists here, where we can search through different types of information, but it's also available under our reports. Okay, so I'm going to show you, I'll show you the lists in here first. So you'll notice here it says all records. If I hit the drop down list here, you'll see I've got a number of saved queries showing here. Notice I've got my Fords. So if I want to see a list of all my Fords, I can click Ford and it'll filter out all my Fords for me. Okay. I can also say maybe I want to see all my Fords with over 30,000 miles. I can click on that and it's going to give me all my Fords that have over 30,000 miles. Okay, and if I want to sort this, I can click here and it'll sort it for me by whatever column I want, maybe year or whatever. So the way I create these is if I click all records, it's gonna give me all my records back. But the way I create this is I come here and you'll see the second row beneath all records is custom query. When I click on that, um, it'll give me a list of all of my fields in my vehicle list. So this one that we made was make. So make, if I hit next, it's going to say is equal to, and I've got a number of different options that I can use for all kinds of different things. But in this case, I'm going to say is equal to, and we'll say, I think I've got some Chevys in there. All right. And so all it does is it says make is equal to Chevy. And if I click finish, if that's all I want and I hit finish, it's going to ask me, do you want to save this query? If I hit yes, it'll save this query and it'll ask me for a name. I'm just going to hit no here and it's going to just go in and filter out all my Chevys. Okay, and it did not save that. Since I said no, it's not going to save it in this list here. All right. So I'm going to create a new query and I'm going to create one. I'm going to hit M for make and I hit next and I'm going to say is equal to, and we'll say Chevy. And then I'm also going to hit next, but I'm going to hit and this time, and I'm going to hit M again, and I'm going to say meter one current, and I'm going to hit next, and I'm going to say is greater than or equal to, we'll say, and then hit next, 15,000 miles. I'm going to hit next, and I'm going to hit finish, and now I'm going to save this. So I'm going to save this query, and I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to call it Chevy with over 15,000 miles. Okay, and this is what's going to show up in my list. So if I click OK, I only have one Chevy with over 15,000 miles. Okay, and fill that out. And notice now I have it in this list. All right. So this could, I mean, it's really great. You can go in here and you can, like I said, you can just, if you want to see all the 2005 vehicles, you can create all these custom queries. What's really great too is now that I created these queries, I can also, when I go to my reports and I go to my vehicles, since this is a vehicle query, and maybe I want to do a vehicle list, you'll see that the first thing that pops up are the saved queries. So all those queries that I created, like the Chevy list, I can actually use that in my reports, and I can hit go and notice it'll just bring up my Chevys now for my report. So it's kind of neat that you can interchange that. All right, so that is what I have here for that, and next I'm going to just kind of show you a little bit of our GPS and our telematic system, and this is a new feature that we added, and it really has a lot of great the customers that have implemented it has really improved their function, their efficiency. And the main reason it does it is it brings in, if you have a GPS or telematics system, and these are currently the ones that we support over here on the right, but it will automatically bring in odometer readings from these units, because these units are collecting the odometer, and they're monitoring depending on your device. Some use a GPS simulated odometer. Some people use the actual odometer on the vehicle. So we can interface with these systems, and it will bring in the odometer reading once a day. So it'll go out to the system. It'll go out to the actual program, and it'll download. Fleetsoft will go and it'll download to the Fleetsoft cloud, and then it'll bring it into Fleetsoft once a day, and it'll record that that meter and also the hour meter. So that's one of the features that it does. It also will bring in all the fault codes for on that vehicle. So when you're doing a work order, or if you just want to view the fault codes on a vehicle while you're in Fleetsoft, all you have to do is click a button and it'll automatically show you all the fault codes that are showing up on that vehicle. So it saves a lot of time. You don't have to go in and out of different programs or buy additional licenses. You can actually bring it right in through Fleetsoft. And then thirdly, we have if you use a DVIR or do inspections on any of these systems, any failed inspection from that system, so like maybe there was a headlight out, that it failed the inspection, it will actually download that failed inspection and show you in reported problems that there's a problem reported on the vehicle, and then you can create a work order from that. So it's really a neat feature. A lot of people don't know about that feature, but that is a new feature we have, and you can call our sales team, and they can show you it. We have a brochure on it that tells you all kinds of stuff. If your system is not on this list, we do have a special promotion that we've been ever since we started this thing. We're actually we'll build the interface for you at no charge. If you sign up for the subscription, we'll actually build it at no charge. We just have to work with your GPS provider and get their API information, and they'll send that over to us. All right. Okay, I'm going to bring up Steve Hall, which he's been waiting patiently as I do this here. He's going to talk a little bit about some of the training offerings that we offer. A lot of people don't know that Fleetsoft does offer training as well, and so he's going to talk to us a little bit about the different training offerings that we have. Steve?
Thanks, Kirk. I'm Steve Hall, a Fleetsoft instructor. We offer several training options. I'll go over each one of these. First is our online training. This is the most common one that's used. It's a one-on-one with a specific customer. Normally there'd be anywhere from one to as many as maybe 4 or 5 participants on the training session. What I'll do is I'll have Fleetsoft screen up. I'll be sharing it with that customer using a sample database that I have. The good thing about this training is tailored to the customer's needs or requirements. So for example, if you're on Fleetsoft Standard, don't have inventory, then we'll just go over what you have on your particular package and won't cover anything on the inventory. Same thing if someone has Plus, and we'll go ahead and go over all the requirements on Plus. The good thing too about this is a good dialogue back and forth during the training. It's usually 3-hour minimum on the training, but it doesn't have to be 1 3-hour session. I'm pretty flexible with that. Sometimes I'll split it 1.5 hours to do different sessions, or I may do a 2-hour and then wait 2 or 3 weeks and follow up with an hour later on. So I'm real flexible as how to do that. The second training we have is a classroom training in Plano, Texas. That's a 2-day class. The first day we'll go over the standard and professional features. Day 2 will be the plus features plus the GPS. This gives us a good dialogue and exchange of information between the attendees. Normally these are larger groups. They can be anywhere from 8, 12 people due to the classroom setting. A third package that we have on training is on-site at the customer location, and this runs 1 to 5 days. What we'll do is work alongside the customers with your specific software, your fleet, and your data. Well, we can even help with parts room setup, barcoding, also paperwork flow through the shop. A good thing is we're sitting right down with your personnel, be it a technician, parts person, admin staff, fleet manager, whatever, to work on the particular training. The last we have is we're looking at live stream online training through webinars. That's still in the development stage and it has not been finalized yet. If you have any questions on the training, please get with Scott Attaway, and I'll turn this over to Scott now.
Okay, thanks, Steve. So we're about to get to the Q&A portion of the webinar, and we're going to try to get to as many questions as we can today. If we don't get to your question, please reach out to me, at 469-646-8216, or you can email me at scott.attaway@fleetsoft.com. If you have any questions about the software or other questions, you can reach out to tech support at 877-668-8572, or you can email them at techsupport@fleetsoft.com. So for everybody attending this webinar, we are offering 10% off all training packages, and that's going to be good through the middle of July. So with that being said, we'll get to the Q&A portion of the webinar, and I'll let Kurt take over from here.
Okay, thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. This is going to bring us to the Q&A, and let's see. We had one question, and if you have any questions, if you want to bring them up, we've got some. We had some that call in. Someone asked about the GL account in Fleetsoft. So the GL account, that it's a general ledger account, and we've added this because we have a lot of customers that may have an accounting system, and when they do exports throughout their to their accounting package, they want to have there's a GL account number that you can put in, so you can type this in and you can actually add it as a drop down. So right now I'm in the part. So whenever you add this part to a work order, it's going to store a general ledger account number, whatever, say, whatever that number would be here. And so it'll save it and it'll put it in there. So if you wanted to import all your detail history into your accounting system, you can actually have that account number to do that, and that's wherever you see GL account number in the system, that's what it's gonna save. So I'm gonna actually create this as the drop down. I'm gonna hit yes here, and then it'll put it in the drop down, so you can actually select different GL account numbers. So that's how the GL account number works. So when you do an export, if you want to export to your accounting system, and maybe you want to export usage history, you can go in and export that to your accounting system or a spreadsheet or whatever you want to do. Okay. Also, we have another question. The difference between Pro and Pro Plus. Okay, that's a good question because I know we have a number of different people watching that have different packages. The package that I showed you today was Professional Plus. And we know we have 4 versions. We have Standard, we have Standard Plus, and then we have Professional, and we have Professional Plus. Professional Plus includes all of the features. And the best way I can show that is in the Professional version. If you have Professional, you'll see the Vehicle tab, Work Orders, Service Parts, and PM Schedules. All of these other ones like Expenses, Reported Problems, Fuel, Licensing and Permits, Daily Logs, Tire Tracking, Employee Training, those are part of the Plus package, okay? And then the GPS location and the fault codes, that's part of the GPS system. So if you are on Professional or Standard, you'll probably just see a few of these tabs, and you probably won't see all these icons up here like the Fuel and the Logs, Reported Problems. So you need to get the Plus package if you want to do any of these other features. And we have a nice brochure that kind of shows you. It's a PDF brochure that kind of breaks down and shows you all the different options of the package. So if you want to contact our sales team, they can go in and we can email that to you if you have any questions on it. We can also get you pricing. It's really easy to upgrade. We just if you upgrade, you just pay the price difference between what you paid and the package. So you just pay the difference, and it also is all we do is we email you. It's really easy to upgrade. You just come here and you say register product, and we email you a code, and you just drag the attachment that we give you right here, and it automatically turns it into Professional or Professional Plus. So that's the question that we have here. Okay, well, we're just at the hour mark, and I know we started a little bit late. It doesn't look like we have any other questions, so that's good. I know you guys are all existing users, so you probably are all experts on the system already. But hopefully, what I showed you today was helpful. And again, if you have any questions at all, please remember you can call our tech support number at 877-668-8572, or you can email them at techsupport@fleetsoft.com. Email is actually a really great way for you to contact them, because what we can do, if you send us an email with a question, a lot of times they'll send back like screenshots of it, and then so it works out kind of well if you do email. And also, our tech support department is open from 8:30 a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. But if you do and you can send emails 24 hours a day, and sometimes, if the techs, they have access to that 24 hours a day even when on a vacation. So a lot of times they might even ask you after hours. So if you have an after hours question, you can try sending an email, and they may just get back to you. Okay, we've got one more question about the PM schedule. Let's see here. Future plans. If you are tracking PM on non-vehicles using hours, how do you get around the constant reminder with mileage being a required field? Okay, if you're tracking PMs on non-vehicles using hours, how do you get around that? Okay. All right. So this question is a good one here. If you have non a non-vehicle, and you want to find out why it's asking you for mileage. So if you in the service code, you have to create a different service code for a different vehicle in that case. So say this PMA here, I may want to have a PMA for certain types of vehicles. So this might be a PMA for trucks. But if you wanted to do, if you'd only want to do engine hours, you would just put a 0 in here for each one of these for 0 days and meter 1. And then if you just want to do hours, here's where you would put in the number of hours you'd have, but you'd have to create a special service code, and then that service code you'd have to add that to the vehicle schedule. So I hope that makes sense, where you can create a different service code and then apply that service code to the PM schedule specifically for that. So that's a really good question. But yeah, so what you do is you put these at 0, and then you would put in that. Okay, great. All right. Well, that is the final question here. Oh, I guess I've got one more question about future plans for smart device inventory management. That's a great question. We have been diligently working on a mobile applications for Fleetsoft. Matter of fact, we're actually developing a whole new web-based version. And what we're going to do is we've actually created the ability to use your smartphone to um, to do all kinds of things like add fuel, check in. We also have the ability to check in and out of inventory. We're working with some neat devices that will have the ability. It'll be a handheld device that has actually a built-in scanner, so you'll be able to scan right from your mobile device. Well, actually, from a mobile device, so it'll actually have like a Android computer on it, and you can go around and scan in parts through that device. That is in the new web version that's coming out. We are working with that, so there's a lot of stuff coming out. I really can't let too much out of the bag, but I want to tell you that is coming very quickly, probably before the end of the year, and even sooner than that. As a matter of fact, we are in beta on some of these products already. So thank you for asking that question, Michael. And I think that is it. So again, thank you so much for attending today. I'm really apologize for the technical difficulties we had there at the beginning. But if you did enjoy this, again, please subscribe to the Fleetsoft YouTube page. We have a number of videos on our YouTube page that you can view some of our training videos. We have a really great video that Alan Hicks, our lead developer, did um, on the GPS interface. So if you are interested in that, please look at that video on our YouTube page, and that's that. So I'm going to hand it over to Jill, and Jill, if you want to say a few words, we can sign off here.
Thanks, Kurt, and thank you all again for coming today. We really appreciate it. Again, if you could subscribe to the YouTube channel, it will send you updates on our new features and our new videos. And also, just to let you all know, since we did change the link, I'll be sure and email this out to all of you that signed up to make sure you have it and if you want to watch it again. So thanks so much and hope you have a great week.